today's lesson, we're looking at another point of picky punctuation, the colons. In student writing, I often see a variety of semicolon and colon use, both of which are used incorrectly. So you have to ask, when do you use a semicolon? Use a semicolon to separate two independent clauses to avoid a run-on sentence or a comma splice. For example, look at this sentence. Biography tells us about a subject, semicolon. Biographers tell us about themselves. You see, there are two independent clauses or two separate types of sentences. You can join those with the semicolon since they are kind of related. You also can use semicolons when the second independent clause contains a transitional expression like however, moreover, nonetheless, etc. Here's an example. The results of the study support the hypothesis, semicolon, however, comma, further research with a variety of tasks is needed. You also need to make sure that you use that comma after however, moreover, nevertheless, whatever the case might be for that transitional expression. You also need to use semicolons to separate items in a list containing internal commas, and this one can be a little bit tricky. When I cleaned out the refrigerator, I found a chocolate cake, half eaten, a can of tomato paste, which had a blue fungus growing on the top, and quite possibly some edible meatloaf. Next, we're going to talk about the colon. A colon follows an independent clause and introduces information that balances or explains the cause. The colon tells the reader what comes next will tell you more about what you just read. Oftentimes, you'll see the colon used after an independent clause to introduce a list. This is usually where I see most colons used. Here's an example. The students included 3 pieces of writing in their portfolios, colon, a narrative, an argument, and a documented paper. Using the colon in this case is very good because it signals to the reader that you're giving them a list of information. You also can use a colon after an independent clause to introduce or explain or elaborate. Here's an example. The author has performed a remarkable feat. She has maintained suspense to the last page. You can also use colons in salutations, precise time notations, titles, and biblical citations. For instance, if you're writing a letter to someone and you want to say, Dear Sir, colon, or, precise time notations, it'd be 10:30 for 10:30. Titles of books may also have a colon in it. A lot of times books might have, especially if it's a literary book, might have, the name of something and then colon, more of a descriptive phrase to accompany it. And of course the biblical citations, most of us are familiar with John 3:16. So when you're writing it, you don't write out John and then the word 3 and then the other word 16. You do John numeral 3 colon 16. Now don't use a colon directly after a verb, such as a form of to be or include, a preposition, or the word such as. Here's an example. The book includes a preface, an introduction, an appendix, and an index. Notice that you don't have to use the colon after includes. Just use the word includes and then list your items. Don't use a colon after, for example, especially or including. I see this one quite a bit. The correct usage in this case would be, his taste is so varied that his living room includes, for example, antiques, modern art, and Art Deco lighting fixtures. There's no colon in that sentence.